Camille Hartman woke to the sound of her phone vibrating against the marble nightstand, the soft buzz echoing through the empty penthouse overlooking Central Park. It was nearly 1:47 a.m., a time when any married woman 6 months pregnant should be fast asleep beside her husband, not staring at the ceiling and counting the seconds he hadn't come home. She pressed a hand to her belly, feeling the faintest flutter, like the baby sensed her unease. "It's okay," she whispered, though her voice trembled. "Mommy's fine." But she wasn't. The next buzz came not from a text, but from a news alert. Camille blinked at the screen, confused until she saw the headline glowing back at her. Preston Vaughn spotted at the Beverly Hills Hotel in intimate moment with mystery woman. Her heart lurched violently, hard enough that she had to sit upright to catch her breath. The photo loaded slowly, almost cruelly, revealing Preston's unmistakable profile. Tuxedo jacket off his shoulders, hand around the waist of Riley Monroe as they leaned against a private cabana, champagne in hand. Riley's red dress clung to her like wet silk. Preston's smile, a smile Camille hadn't seen in months, looked effortless beside another woman. Her stomach tightened, not from morning sickness, but from something far more shattering. Camille enlarged the photo to be sure she wasn't dreaming. She recognized the pin on Preston's lapel, the Cartier clip she'd given him last Christmas. Riley's hand rested exactly where Camille's used to when attending Preston's corporate events. It was an image too natural to be a drunken mistake, too intimate to be excused. Her vision blurred, but she didn't cry. Not yet. A second alert pinged. More photos emerging from Beverly Hills. Another angle. Preston and Riley entering the hotel lobby. Riley holding his arm. Preston checking in at the front desk. Camille felt the first crack in her chest. Her breath hitched, shallow and sharp. She tried to stand but had to grip the edge of the nightstand to steady herself. The baby shifted again, as if sensing the storm inside her. Her phone rang suddenly. Not Preston, not family, but a blocked number. She answered weakly. "Hello?" A male voice spoke, low and clipped. "Mrs. Vaughn, you need to know. Tonight wasn't an accident. He planned it. And tomorrow, he's coming back with papers he wants you to sign." "What papers?" Camille whispered. The line went silent for 3 long seconds. Then, "Papers that will strip you of everything. Don't let him corner you." The call ended before she could ask another question. Camille lowered the phone, pulse racing. Her mind spun. Preston cheating was one betrayal, but this, something darker was happening. Something planned. Thunder rolled faintly outside, though the sky was clear. She looked toward the front door, suddenly cold. Because a key turned in the lock. Preston was home early, and he wasn't alone. Camille stepped back and heard a woman's laugh drift from the hallway. Camille froze where she stood, her bare feet rooted to the cold hardwood floor as Preston's key clicked fully into place. Her pulse pounded so loudly she almost didn't hear the soft, feminine laugh that floated through the entryway, carefree, unbothered, a sound that sliced straight through the silence of the penthouse. Camille instinctively placed a protective hand over her belly, feeling the baby shift as if mirroring her fear. The door swung open. Preston walked in first, smelling faintly of expensive bourbon and the citrusy cologne he only wore when he wanted to impress someone. He looked freshly pressed, glowing, almost proud of himself. Behind him came Riley Monroe, dressed in the same scandalous red dress from the tabloid photos, a coat draped casually over her shoulders, as if she belonged there. Camille's breath hitched. Preston froze when he saw her. His eyes widened, not with guilt, but with irritation, like she'd interrupted a private moment. "You're awake," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "You shouldn't be standing like that. It's bad for the baby." Camille stared at him in disbelief. "You brought her here?" Riley gave a small, apologetic shrug, though her eyes gleamed with something closer to victory. "We thought you'd be asleep," she said lightly, as if that made everything better. Preston shot Riley a warning look, then stepped toward Camille. "Listen," he began, lowering his voice to fake calm. "Tonight was business." Camille lifted her phone, showing him the headline. "Business?" His jaw tightened. "The media exaggerates. You know that. And the photos?" she asked quietly. "Did they Photoshop your mouth onto hers, or hers onto yours?" Riley stiffened. Preston's eyes flicked away. Camille felt a sharp sting in her chest, but she held her composure. She had to, for herself, for her baby. Preston exhaled through his nose, the way he always did before delivering bad news. Look, Camille, this marriage hasn't been working for a long time. You know it. I know it. And with the company under scrutiny, we have to make decisions efficiently. Her stomach sank. What decisions? He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. Legal ones. Camille felt her blood go cold. These are temporary authority waiver documents, Preston said, holding the envelope like an offering. Given your condition and everything happening with the financial leak, it's better, cleaner, if I take full control of our assets until after the baby is born. Eso. She stared at him, stunned. Full control? It's for your protection, he added, voice oily smooth. If Hartman Capital collapses, you'll be the one blamed. Not me, not the board. You. Riley crossed her arms. It's the safest move. Camille blinked. You mean the safest move for you? Preston's face hardened. Sign the papers, Camille. Don't make this harder. She steadied herself against the wall. Why now? Why tonight? Riley looked down, but Camille caught the ghost of a smirk. Then everything clicked. The paparazzi photos. The business trip. The phone call warning her. The timing. You leaked the photos, Camille whispered. Both of you. You wanted the scandal. You wanted me isolated so I'd sign whatever you put in front of me. Preston didn't deny it. His silence was louder than any confession. You planned this, she said, voice breaking. You planned all of it. He stepped closer. Camille, sign the papers. Her throat tightened. The room spun slightly. She tasted salt, but refused to cry. No, she whispered. Preston's jaw clenched. Then I'll make sure the world knows you're responsible for the missing $1.2 billion. You think my lawyers won't bury you? Her heart dropped. And for the first time, Camille felt real fear, not of losing Preston, but of what he might take from her child. A sudden kick from inside her belly snapped her focus back into place. She lifted her chin. I'm not signing anything tonight. Preston opened his mouth, but the elevator dinged. Footsteps approached. Someone else was coming up to the penthouse. Someone Preston wasn't expecting. Camille's breath caught when she saw the tall silhouette appear in the doorway, because it wasn't a threat, it was the last man Preston ever wanted to see. The tall silhouette stepped into the warm glow of the penthouse foyer, and for a moment everything inside the apartment froze. Preston mid-breath, Riley mid-blink, Camille mid-heartbeat. The man who entered carried a presence that bent the air around him, composed, sharp, expensive. Camille hadn't seen him in 3 years, yet she recognized him instantly. Donovan Hayes, CEO of Hayes & Cole Investments, a man whose name made Wall Street straighten its tie, and the one person Preston Vaughn had once sworn he'd crush if given the chance. But Donovan didn't look at Preston. His eyes were locked on Camille. Camille, he said softly, stepping toward her. I came as soon as I got your message. Camille blinked. My message? Preston's face drained of color. Riley subtly stepped behind him. Donovan glanced at her, then at Preston, then at the envelope in Preston's hand. I had a feeling something like this was happening. Your assistant forwarded me a file flagged with your name and a timestamp from an unknown sender. It contained documents concerning. Camille swallowed. She hadn't sent anything. Someone else had. Preston recovered quickly, plastering on a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Donovan. What a surprise. To what do we owe? Spare me, Donovan cut in, tone cold as granite. I saw the photos, and I know exactly what those documents are. His gaze dropped to the envelope. You're trying to force her to sign an authority waiver. Preston stiffened. That's a private matter. No, Donovan said. Not when your actions threaten my firm's investments with Hartman Capital. Camille felt the room tilt. Hartman? Donovan met her eyes. Something understanding, something protective flickered there. Camille, the missing $1.2 billion? The board believes someone inside your household leaked confidential files. They think you did it. Her throat tightened. I didn't. In for 7. I know, Donovan said firmly. Which is why I'm here. Preston let out a short, sharp laugh. Oh, this is rich. Camille barely knows the difference between a trust fund and a toaster. You expect anyone to believe she's capable of pulling off a leak of that scale? Riley smirked. Exactly. Donovan's expression darkened. You underestimate her intelligence. Again. He turned to Camille. Do you still have the documents he brought home? Camille nodded stiffly. Good, he said. Because they're illegal. Preston snapped. Watch it, Hayes. But Donovan didn't flinch. You're coercing a pregnant woman under duress to sign away assets she legally co-owns. That's felony-level manipulation. And you know it. Riley's smirk vanished. Camille's legs weakened with relief and fear, both hitting her at once. Donovan stepped closer, steadying her with a hand lightly on her elbow. You're trembling, he murmured. Sit down. She let him guide her to the sofa. The physical support cracked something inside her, but she held back tears. Preston pointed at Donovan like a cornered animal. You're interfering in a marital issue. Donovan's voice lowered. Lethal. You endangered her and the child. That makes it my business. Camille's breath caught. Why? Why do you care? A silence hung heavy, loaded. Donovan's jaw flexed. Because your father asked me to protect you, and because you deserved better than this long before tonight. If you want a different... Preston barked a bitter laugh. Oh, please, don't tell me he's still hung up on. Finish that sentence, Donovan warned, and I'll make sure every investor you've ever lied to sees your real books. Riley tugged Preston's arm. Let's go. This isn't the time. Preston yanked away. No, she's signing tonight. Try, Donovan said, stepping between them, and I'll have security escort you out. This penthouse belongs to her. Not you. Camille's head snapped up. It what? Preston blanched. Oh, he didn't tell you? Donovan said quietly. Your parents bought this penthouse through a trust under your name. Vaughn never owned a single square foot. Camille's breath left her in a single, stunned gasp. Riley whispered, what? And Preston finally dropped the mask, fury twisting his features. You weren't supposed to know that, he hissed at Camille. Donovan turned to her slowly, his voice calm but seismic. Camille, this was only the first thing he hid from you. Princess. Camille felt the air thicken, as if the walls of the penthouse had suddenly closed in on all four of them. Her husband's betrayal, the photos, the documents, it had all been enough to break her. But now, learning that Preston had hidden the truth about her own home, her own legal rights, made something unfamiliar burn beneath her skin. Not anger. Not yet. Clarity. Preston stepped forward, but Donovan blocked him again with a slow shake of the head. Move, Preston snarled. No, Donovan said calmly. Camille raised her eyes. Preston, why did you hide the ownership? Preston didn't hesitate, he lied instantly. I didn't hide it. Your parents insisted. You know how controlling they were. I was protecting you. Riley shifted uncomfortably, clearly unconvinced, even by Preston's own excuse. Donovan let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Protecting her? Preston, you spent 2 years telling the press you bought this penthouse with your first big profit. You used it to build your self-made billionaire narrative. I am self-made, Preston hissed. No, Donovan corrected, tone precise and icy. You are investor-made, and 70% of those investors came from the Hartman portfolio. From Camille. Camille blinked. From me? Donovan nodded. Your father approved a silent investment structure years ago. You were made the beneficiary. Preston knew. Preston's face contorted with panic, then hatred. This is all irrelevant. Camille, sign the papers. He thrust the envelope at her again. Her voice shook. What happens if I sign? Riley stepped forward as if scripted. You temporarily relinquish decision rights to company assets, holdings, trusts. Donovan cut her off sharply. Incorrect. She permanently relinquishes control. The clauses are irreversible. Camille's heart jolted. Permanent? Preston snapped. You're emotional. Misunderstanding things. Donovan's twisting it. Because no. But Donovan reached into his jacket and pulled out a copy of the same agreements, printed, highlighted, tabbed. I read what he intended to force on you, Donovan said. This is a full legal surrender of your voting power. If you sign, Preston gains control of everything tied to your name. Camille's mouth went dry. Even the company funds? Even the silent investments? Especially those, Donovan confirmed. Riley's gaze faltered, guilt or self-preservation flashing briefly in her eyes. Preston grabbed Camille's wrist too tightly. Camille, think about the baby. If the financial investigation worsens, you'll be dragged into court pregnant. You can't handle that stress. Camille flinched. Let go. You want our child born into chaos, into scandal? His grip tightened. Sign it. Donovan stepped in an instant, removing Preston's hand with controlled force. Touch her again, and I'll make sure the board sees the footage from tonight. If one to. Preston paled, realizing the penthouse cameras were likely recording everything. You're blowing this out of proportion, Preston insisted, voice cracking. I'm trying to protect us. Camille looked at him, really looked at him, and something clicked into place. The timeline, the pressure, the sudden financial leak, the public scandal, the urgency to obtain her signature. This wasn't about protecting their family. This was about eliminating her. Preston, she whispered, did you leak the financial documents? He flinched barely, but enough. Riley inhaled sharply. Donovan's eyes narrowed. Answer her. Preston's mask crumbled for a half-second, revealing something predatory beneath. You're pregnant, emotional, delusional. Stop imagining conspiracies. But Camille wasn't imagining anything. Her father's warnings echoed in her memory. When men fear losing power, they take it from the nearest woman first. Her breath steadied. I'm not signing. Preston's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. Then you'll lose everything. Donovan stepped between them again. You already lost, Preston. Camille held her belly, feeling the baby push softly as if sensing her resolve. She drew a breath. Preston, we're done talking tonight. Leave. He didn't move. Riley tugged his arm anxiously. Preston, come on. This isn't. But Preston's eyes burned into Camille with a hatred that sent a cold shiver through her spine. You'll regret this. He turned sharply, storming toward the elevator, with Riley scrambling behind him. The penthouse door slammed shut. The silence was deafening. Camille's legs finally gave out. Donovan caught her before she fell. And as her vision blurred, she heard him whisper, Camille, tomorrow morning, everything you thought you knew will change. Camille woke the next morning with a pounding headache and the heavy ache of yesterday's betrayal still pressing against her ribs. Sunlight streamed through the penthouse windows, illuminating everything too brightly her swollen eyes. The documents still scattered across the coffee table, and Donovan sitting nearby in an armchair, reading through files with the focus of a man preparing for war. For a moment, she wondered if last night had been a nightmare, but the envelope lying on the floor said otherwise. You're awake, Donovan said gently, closing the folder. How are you feeling? Camille tried to sit up, wincing. Exhausted, then quieter, humiliated. Donovan leaned forward. Don't you dare blame yourself for anything that man did. But she did. She blamed herself for not seeing it coming, for loving Preston, for believing his charm over her own instincts, for letting him into a life she was raised to guard. She rested a hand over her belly. My baby didn't deserve all this. No, Donovan said softly, you didn't. A knock echoed through the penthouse, short, firm, familiar. Camille stiffened. Donovan stood immediately. That's the Hartman security detail, he said. I called them. Camille's breath hitched. Why? Because the board wants answers, Donovan replied. And they think you're responsible for the 1.2 billion leak. Her stomach twisted painfully. Not again. Not the same cycle she'd lived through for years. All her life, Camille had been hunted not by strangers, but by her own last name. When she was 12, a man attempted to kidnap her outside a charity event. At 14, ransom letters started arriving at their door. By 16, she couldn't walk to school without a shadow team following her. Hartman Capital wasn't just wealthy, it was powerful, tangled in global economies, tech patents, defense contracts. Being its heiress made her both invaluable and expendable, which was why her father had created a cover identity for her, one so clean and ordinary that even tabloids lost interest. She became the assistant from New Jersey, humble, quiet, harmless. Preston had met her during that phase. He believed the story. Everyone did. Everyone except Donovan. He had known the truth from the beginning, known and kept her secret. Camille, Donovan said, pulling her gently back to the present. The board thinks you leaked the files because the breach came from a device registered under your name. Camille's heart dropped. What device? A MacBook associated with your Trust ID. The same one Preston insisted you upgrade 2 months ago. Her pulse spiked. He switched my laptop. Yes, Donovan said grimly. And he wiped the old one. Tears stung Camille's eyes, not from sadness, but sheer violation. Preston hadn't just betrayed her heart. He had weaponized her identity. He had built her downfall long before last night. The penthouse door opened, and 2 Hartman security officers stepped inside, men in dark suits with expressionless faces. Behind them walked Evelyn Hartman, Camille's aunt and acting chairwoman of Hartman Capital. Regal, sharp-eyed, impossible to mislead. "Camille," Evelyn said curtly. "We need to talk." Camille felt her throat close. "Aunt Evelyn, I didn't leak. We'll determine that." Evelyn cut in. Her gaze shifted to Donovan. "I assume you've told her?" "Not everything," Donovan replied. Evelyn stepped closer. "Then, allow me." She pulled a document from her leather portfolio and laid it on the table. It was a subpoena from federal investigators. Camille's heart lurched. "You are officially under review," Evelyn said. "And if you don't clear your name, your inheritance, your board seat, and your child's future will be compromised." Camille swallowed, her voice barely a whisper. "He set me up." Evelyn stiffened. "Who?" Camille lifted her trembling hand and pointed at the envelope Preston had left behind. "My husband." Silence poisoned the air. Donovan's jaw tightened. Evelyn's eyes sharpened dangerously. "Camille," she said slowly, "you need to tell us everything." Camille took a shaky breath. And for the first time in her life, she told the truth, without hiding anything. Her fears, her suspicions, Preston's threats, Riley's involvement, the envelope, the forced signature. When she finished, Evelyn stood very still. Then she whispered, "My dear, you've married a man capable of destroying empires." Camille looked up, fear turning to something colder. "Then let's make sure," she said quietly, "that he doesn't destroy mine." But Evelyn didn't respond. Instead, she slowly turned toward Donovan because there was something he hadn't told Camille yet, something that would change everything again. Evelyn Hartman's sharp gaze didn't leave Donovan, not for a breath, not for a blink. Camille noticed it instantly, a shift in the room's atmosphere, like something heavy had entered and no one had bothered to warn her. "Donovan," Evelyn said, voice steady but edged with steel. "Tell her." Donovan inhaled slowly. "Not now." "Yes," Evelyn insisted. "Now." Camille's pulse quickened. "Tell me what?" Donovan finally turned toward her. His expression, usually calm, unshakable, carried a weight she had never seen before. It frightened her more than any threat Preston had made. "Camille," he began, "the board isn't just suspicious of you. They've already voted to temporarily suspend your authority. It's Devenel." She stared at him, her throat closing. "My authority?" Evelyn stepped in. "Effective this morning, your voting rights within Hartman Capital have been frozen until the investigation is resolved." Camille's world tilted. "Frozen? Without speaking to me? Without hearing me?" "They believe the evidence is overwhelming," Evelyn said. "The leak came from a device under your trust, and with your absence from board meetings these past months, they think you've become compromised." As a morsto, compromised. The word cut deeper than betrayal. "They think my pregnancy is a weakness," Camille whispered. "They think you have been manipulated," Evelyn corrected. "Which, unfortunately, is not entirely wrong." Camille pressed a hand to her belly, her breath trembling. "So Preston destroys me publicly, leaks confidential files using a laptop he swapped without my knowledge, smears me to the media, and the board rewards him by taking my power?" Evelyn didn't react. Because yes, that was exactly what had happened. Donovan stepped closer. "Camille, listen to me. Suspending your authority doesn't mean you've lost anything. It just means we have to move fast." Her eyes burned. "Fast to do what? Fight charges I didn't commit? Convince my own family I'm not a traitor? Protect a company that's never protected me?" Evelyn's voice softened a rarity. "You were hidden for a reason. But hiding has consequences. They forgot who you are." Camille laughed a hollow, painful sound. "I forgot who I am." The baby kicked again, sharper this time, pulling a gasp from her. Donovan instantly knelt. "Camille, are you okay?" She nodded through the ache. "He's just reminding me he's here." Her son. Her only anchor. Evelyn hesitated, then reached into her portfolio and slid another document across the table. "We received this early this morning," she said. It was forwarded anonymously. Camille unfolded it with trembling hands. It was an internal memo from Vaughn Dynamics, Preston's company. Subject line, "Projected takeover timeline post-Hartman collapse." Her breath froze. The memo was explicit. Plan to acquire Hartman's distressed assets. Neutralize Camille Hartman's voting rights. Secure full merger under Preston Vaughn's control. Rebrand Hartman Capital under Vaughn Holdings. Camille felt sick. He wanted the company, not the marriage. Marriage was a means to access, Evelyn said. Your trust, your identity, your legal leverage. And the pregnancy? Camille whispered. A silence. Then Donovan answered, voice low and bitter. Insurance. If he controlled you as the mother of his child, he controlled everything. Camille closed her eyes, her hands trembling violently. I can't believe I married a man like that. Donovan rose slowly. Camille, look at me. When she did, his expression was so intensely protective, it made her chest ache. You will not lose your company, he said. You will not lose your name. And you damn sure won't lose your child to that man. Tears finally slipped past her lashes, not weak, but furious. But before she could speak, her phone buzzed violently on the table. A text from Preston. It read, if you won't sign for me, you'll sign for our son. Court, here's my petition tomorrow. Camille's hand shook as she picked up the phone. He's trying to take my baby, she whispered. No, Donovan said, taking the phone from her. What he's trying to do is scare you. Evelyn stepped forward, eyes sharp. But he just made a fatal mistake. Camille blinked. What mistake? Evelyn's lips curled into the smallest, coldest smile. He left proof. And proof, she said, is how we end kings. Camille sat on the sofa, the morning sun slicing through the tall windows like accusing spotlights. She felt exposed, stripped down to every fear she had ever buried. Evelyn paced in front of her with the restless precision of someone assembling a war strategy, while Donovan stood by the windows, scrolling through something on his iPad with increasing tension. Finally, he spoke. I found something. Evelyn stopped. Camille lifted her head, her throat tight. What do you mean? Donovan turned around slowly, too slowly. Last night, after I left the board meeting, I requested access logs from the Hartman data vault. Camille frowned. The vault that stores our highest-tier financial records? Yes, he said, including the files related to the missing $1.2 billion. Evelyn straightened. You accessed those without authorization? Someone had to, he replied unbothered. And you're going to thank me when you hear this. Camille's nerves prickled. What did you find? Donovan crossed the room and placed the iPad gently in her hands. On the screen was a digital access report, timestamps, device IDs, login origins. Camille recognized one entry immediately, the trust device Preston had swapped for her. But there was another entry. A second one she did not recognize. Camille blinked. What is this? Donovan tapped the unknown device ID. This is the machine that accessed the vault 30 minutes before your device was used. Before? Camille whispered. He nodded. This is the real leak. Evelyn folded her arms. Whose device is it? Donovan's jaw tightened. The ID matches a laptop registered under Riley Monroe. Camille sucked in a breath. Riley? Preston's mistress. The woman in the red dress. The woman who stood in Camille's living room and smirked as Preston pressured her to sign away her life. She leaked the files, Camille whispered, her voice trembling. She framed me. She didn't act alone, Donovan added. Preston authorized the digital certificate that allowed Riley's machine to bypass Hartman's firewall. Everyone's. Evelyn cursed under her breath. That bastard. Camille stared at the screen, her hands trembling. Memories rushed back. Riley's fake apology, her manufactured pity, the way she hovered behind Preston like a shadow he trained to obey him. They did this together, Camille said. No, Donovan said softly. Riley executed the leak. Preston orchestrated it. Camille swallowed, her voice raw. He wanted them to think I did it. Evelyn nodded grimly. And when the investigation closed in, he planned to save the company by taking full control from you. And then take my baby, Camille whispered, gripping her belly. The room fell silent. Donovan crouched in front of her, eyes steady, strong. Listen to me. You are not powerless. You are not cornered. And we now have something more valuable than anything Preston could ever fabricate. Proof, Camille whispered. Proof, Donovan repeated. But Evelyn lifted a hand. We're not done. There's more. Camille's heart skipped. More? Donovan stood, exhaling slowly. Yes, The log Riley used came from an unusual location. He tapped the screen again. The coordinates expanded. Camille squinted. Then her blood ran cold. "The Beverly Hills Hotel," she breathed. Evelyn nodded. "Which means the leak happened the same night Preston publicly paraded Riley around, intentionally drawing attention." "A distraction," Donovan said. "A scandal big enough to drown out the financial leak." Camille pressed a hand over her mouth. "He used the affair to cover the crime." "He used you to cover his crime," Evelyn corrected. Tears welled in Camille's eyes, not out of heartbreak, but fury. Hot enough to burn. "How do we use this?" she whispered. Donovan's voice dropped, low and deadly calm. "We build a case. We expose him. We destroy his credibility before he destroys your future. But we need to move carefully. He has lawyers, media leverage, and people he's already bribed inside the board." "Who?" Camille asked. Evelyn hesitated. "We don't know yet." But Donovan stepped closer, meeting Camille's gaze. "I'll find them." Camille steadied her breath. For the first time since the nightmare began, something inside her shifted, fear turning into resolve, trembling turning into steel. But then her phone buzzed again. Another message. From an unknown number this time. She opened it and felt her stomach drop. It was a photo of her obstetrician. And beside the doctor, holding Camille's medical chart, was Preston. Donovan saw her face drain of color. "Camille, what is it?" She showed him the photo with trembling fingers. Evelyn sucked in a sharp breath. Donovan's expression darkened like a storm rolling over Manhattan. Because Preston had just made it clear. He wasn't finished with her. He was coming for her health, her pregnancy, and her child. Camille stared at the photo until her vision blurred the sterile white of the doctor's office, her obstetrician's uneasy smile, and Preston looming beside her medical chart, like he owned not only Camille's life, but the life inside her. He stood too close. His hand hovered over the chart. His grin was wrung tight, triumphant. A cold shiver slid down Camille's spine. "He went to my doctor," she whispered, barely able to breathe. "Why would he?" Evelyn answered first, her voice clipped and furious. "Because medical information can be weaponized." Donovan clenched his jaw, taking the phone from her gently. "He's trying to gain leverage. If he gets access to your medical status, he can claim you're unfit due to emotional distress or pregnancy complications." Camille's breath hitched. "He wants custody. Temporary emergency custody," Donovan said darkly. "He's building a case to present tomorrow." End quote. End quote. Camille pressed both hands against her belly, as if shielding the child from the very air. "He can't do that. He can't just walk into my doctor's office." "But he can," Evelyn replied sharply. "If he lies, if he spins a story about concern, if he pressures ethically weak staff." Camille felt sick. "My doctor, she wouldn't betray me. She's been with me since the first trimester." Donovan looked at her with a painful mix of sympathy and realism. "Even good people break under threat. Or money." He tapped the corner of the photo. "He didn't send this to hurt you emotionally. He sent it to tell you he can reach into every part of your life. Even this." Camille swallowed hard. "He's escalating." "Yes," Donovan said, "because he knows we have evidence." Evelyn paced the room. "He thinks fear will weaken her before tomorrow's hearing. He wants her panicked, unstable." Camille closed her eyes. "And it's working." Donovan sat beside her. "Hey," he said softly, "look at me." End quote. She forced herself to lift her gaze. His voice lowered, steady and grounding. "He will not take your child. He will not take your company. And he will not take your sanity, not while I'm alive to stop him." His certainty poured over Camille like warmth she hadn't felt in months, but fear still gnawed at her. "What if he told the doctor I'm unsafe?" she whispered. "What if he's manipulating the chart? What if—" "Camille," Evelyn interrupted, "this is exactly why we need to act before he does." A knock suddenly rattled the penthouse door. 3 sharp raps. Not security. Not family. Something colder. Donovan stood at once. "Stay behind me." He opened the door and found a woman in medical scrubs, trembling, eyes red from crying. Camille gasped. "Dr. Lane?" Her obstetrician stepped inside, twisting her hands. "Camille, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do." He pressured the clinic. He lied. "He told us you were in emotional crisis, that the baby was at risk because you refused treatment. He demanded copies of everything. Camille felt the room spin. You didn't give them to him, right? Dr. Lane shook her head quickly. No. I pretended the system was down. But he's filing a claim with the State Child Services Office. If it goes through, they'll investigate you. End quote. Camille's throat tightened so violently she could barely inhale. Investigate me? Tomorrow morning. Donovan swore under his breath. Evelyn pressed her fingertips to her lips. Dr. Lane handed Camille a sealed envelope. I shouldn't have printed this, but you need to know what he's doing. He's framing you as unstable. He even brought a fake recording, one that sounded like you, screaming. Camille's lip trembled. I never screamed. He knows that, Dr. Lane whispered. He doesn't care. End quote. Camille sagged onto the couch, tears finally spilling. He wants to destroy me as a mother because he couldn't control me as a wife. Donovan knelt beside her again. Listen to me. The moment he escalates to attacking your medical record, he shows desperation. That's good for us. Good? Camille choked out. Yes, Donovan said firmly. Desperation creates mistakes. Mistakes we can use. Evelyn turned, eyes blazing. And that means it's time for us to strike back. Camille, get dressed. Today we reclaim your narrative. Camille wiped her tears, inhaling slowly. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt the spark of fight returning. But before she could stand, her phone lit up again. A new message from Preston. A video file. Donovan saw it first, and his expression turned to ice. Camille, he whispered. You're going to want to sit down for this. Camille's hands trembled as Donovan transferred the video file from her phone to the penthouse TV. The screen flickered, then froze on the first frame, her own face, tear-streaked, breathless, eyes wild with panic. Except, it wasn't her. Camille inhaled sharply. That's not real. Donovan nodded once. Deepfake. Evelyn muttered. God help him when I'm done with him. The video began to play. On screen, Camille screamed hysterically at no one, smashing a glass, clutching her belly as though in pain, shrieking words Camille would never say. I don't want this baby. I don't want him. Bake him. Camille's heart seized. Oh my God, that's not me. We know, Donovan said. But the courts won't if this is presented first. The fake Camille spiraled into a staged meltdown, throwing objects, sobbing, collapsing dramatically on the floor. Dr. Lane covered her mouth in horror. He's going to show this to Child Services. Evelyn's heels clicked sharply as she paced. He's moving fast. If he gets an emergency order, he won't, Donovan said, voice low and lethal. He slipped. This video is too polished, too intentional, too perfect. Camille's shaking worsened. But what if they believe it? What if they think I'm dangerous? What if... Donovan stepped in front of her, taking her face gently in both hands. Camille, look at me. Her breath hitched, but she did. You are not dangerous. You are not unstable. You're a woman he underestimated, and now he's trying to erase. But he will fail. Because I won't let him. It's action. Her chest tightened, not from fear, but from the way he said, I won't let him. Evelyn cleared her throat pointedly. We need action, not affection. Donovan stepped back, jaw tense. Agreed. The good news is, this video isn't just fake. It's traceable. Camille blinked. What do you mean? Donovan picked up the remote and paused the video on a single frame, a reflection in the window behind the fake Camille. What's that? Dr. Lane asked. Donovan zoomed. Camille's breath caught. A shoulder. A glimpse of a suit sleeve. And a portion of a gold watch? Evelyn whispered. Please tell me that isn't. It is, Donovan said. That's Preston's Cartier Santos. He wore it last night. Camille clutched her stomach as a wave of nausea rippled through her. He filmed the actress. He supervised the deepfake. And even better, Donovan said, he filmed it in his own apartment. Look at the skyline. That's his Riverside Drive unit. Evelyn exhaled sharply. We can use this. There's Stockins. They're easy. Camille looked up. How? Donovan straightened. First, we get you protection. I already have security, Camille said. Not enough, Evelyn replied. If he's targeting your medical records and planning a custody attack, we need federal-level shielding. Camille frowned. Federal? Donovan nodded. Deepfake manipulation tied to a financial crime investigation? That's FBI cybercrime territory. And once they're involved, Preston can't spin anything. Camille's pulse raced. Isn't that too extreme? No, Evelyn said bluntly. It's survival. Before Camille could respond, her phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Preston. Donovan played it aloud. Preston's voice oozed confidence. Camille, sweetheart. I'm sorry it had to come to this, but you left me no choice. You're sick, you need help. Tomorrow, the court will see the truth. Sign the papers, and this all goes away. Her blood turned to ice. He thinks he's untouchable, Dr. Lane whispered. Not for long, Donovan said, grabbing his coat. Camille, get ready, we're going to my office. I need my full technical team. Evelyn added, and I'll handle the board. They'll hear the real truth. Camille tried to stand but winced. The stress tightened her abdomen like a vice. Donovan was beside her instantly. Are you okay? He asked, voice cracking for the first time. I'm fine. She lied. He didn't buy it. Sit. I'll carry you if I have to. Donovan. I'm not asking. If you want of this, Steve. He held out his hand. Camille hesitated, then took it. Because she realized something crucial. Preston had power. But Donovan had purpose. And though Camille didn't know it yet, the next 24 hours would flip everything, her identity, her marriage, her safety, into a battle she could not afford to lose. But as Donovan helped her to her feet, her phone lit up again. This time, it wasn't Preston. It was Riley Monroe. The message read, Camille, we need to talk, before he destroys both of us. Camille stared at the text from Riley Monroe, as though it were a bomb waiting to detonate. Riley, the woman who stood in her penthouse, smirking behind Preston's shoulder. The woman in the red dress. The woman who leaked documents, framed her, paraded around Beverly Hills like she had already replaced Camille. And now she wanted to talk? Donovan saw Camille's frozen expression. Who is it? Camille handed him the phone. His jaw clenched. Absolutely not. She's part of this. She helped him. She's dangerous. Evelyn approached, reading the message over Donovan's shoulder. Or she's cracked under pressure, Dr. Lane added nervously. Or Preston turned on her too. Camille swallowed. What if she has information we need? Donovan shook his head. She's manipulative. She's played both sides before. She'll do it again. But Camille's instincts buzzed differently. Riley wasn't reaching out to gloat. The tone of the text wasn't teasing or triumphant. It felt terrified. Camille typed back a single word. Where? 3 dots appeared immediately. Then Riley replied, The River Cafe, Brooklyn. Come alone. Donovan snatched the phone. Absolutely not. That's an isolated location. She could be setting you up. Evelyn nodded firmly. This smells like bait. But Camille shook her head slowly. Preston's lawyers are probably building their case right now. Riley was with him during the leak. She knows everything. If there's one person who can confirm what he really did, it's her. Donovan stepped closer, voice low, earnest. Camille, listen to me. You're vulnerable. You're pregnant. And Preston is desperate enough to stage a mental breakdown, fake medical neglect, and sabotage your pregnancy care. He could weaponize Riley again. Camille looked down at her belly. He already has. If Riley wants to run from him, I need to hear why. Evelyn sighed sharply. Then we all go. 18:23. But Riley's next message appeared. If Donovan or Evelyn come, I won't talk. He's watching them. Donovan's eyes narrowed. She's not wrong. Preston probably has people monitoring our movements. But Camille, there is no scenario where you go alone. Camille hesitated until Dr. Lane spoke up, timid but firm. I'll go with her. I'm not part of the board. Preston doesn't know I left the clinic, and I can stay in the background. It wasn't safe. It wasn't wise. But it was the only way. Donovan clearly hated it, but after several tense seconds, he exhaled roughly. Fine, but I'm sending security. They stay unseen, but they stay close. Evelyn squeezed Camille's hand. Get information. Nothing more. No sympathy. No bargains. Camille nodded. Minutes later, Donovan escorted her and Dr. Lane down to the private elevator. His hand lingered on her lower back longer than necessary, his voice thick with worry. Call me if anything feels wrong. Anything. I will. Inksport it. And Camille, his voice softened. Don't trust her. Not fully. Not yet. The elevator doors closed before she could respond. The River Cafe sat under the Brooklyn Bridge, warm lights glowing against the night sky, Manhattan shimmering across the water. A place Camille and Preston had dined once before the lies, before the masks slipped. Now she walked toward the entrance with her coat pulled tight, her heart pounding hard enough to shake her steps. Riley waited on the patio, arms wrapped around herself, hair unstyled, makeup smeared. She looked nothing like the woman in the red dress. As soon as she saw Camille, Riley stood quickly. "You actually came," she breathed. Camille didn't sit, talk. Riley swallowed, glancing nervously around. "He's losing control, Camille. He thinks you're turning the board against him. He thinks Donovan is forming a case. He thinks—" "Stop," Camille said sharply. "Tell me your part. Tell me what you did." Riley's eyes filled with shame. "I leaked the documents. I did everything he asked. I thought—" She broke off, biting her lip. "I thought he loved me." Camille flinched. "But then," Riley continued, voice cracking, "he told me last night that once he got full control of Hartman Capital, he didn't need me anymore." Camille's breath halted. Riley pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "I recorded him. Part of it. You need to hear this. Important 7. Important 7. Before she could press play, a figure appeared behind Riley. A man. Tall. Approaching fast. Riley's eyes widened in horror. "Oh God, he found me," she whispered. Camille's pulse exploded. Because the man stepping onto the patio wasn't Preston. It was someone far more unexpected. Someone Camille thought was loyal to her. The man stepping onto the River Cafe patio moved with the easy confidence of someone who belonged everywhere and answered to no one. The streetlight behind him cast his face in partial shadow, but Camille recognized him instantly. Marcus Hale, her head of personal security, the man she'd trusted for years, the man hired by her parents to protect her identity, her safety, her life, the man who was supposed to be loyal only to her. Camille's chest tightened painfully. "Marcus? What are you doing here?" Dr. Lane stiffened beside her. Riley took a step back, fear sharpening her features. "Camille, he isn't who you think. If you know of—" Marcus approached calmly, hands visible, expression unreadable. "Mrs. Hartman, you shouldn't be here. It's unsafe." Camille frowned. "Donovan sent security, not you. You're supposed to be in Manhattan." Marcus nodded once. "I intercepted the call." Her pulse stumbled. "You intercepted Donovan's call?" Marcus's gaze flicked to Riley cold, calculating. "Miss Monroe, Mr. Vaughn wants you to come with me." Riley's breath hitched. No, I'm done with him. I'm not going anywhere with you. He's have not worth." Camille stepped forward instinctively. "Marcus, stop. I asked her to meet me." He didn't blink. "Mrs. Hartman, with respect, you don't understand the danger." Riley let out a bitter laugh. "You mean the danger you helped create?" Camille whipped her head toward Riley. "What are you talking about?" Riley swallowed hard. "He's not Preston's employee. He's yours." "But Preston got to him first." Camille's heart lurched. "That's impossible. Marcus has been with my family for years." "Ike." Marcus finally spoke, voice low, unmoved. "Your father is gone, Camille, and loyalties shift when power shifts." The words cut through her like a blade. Riley edged closer to Camille. "He's the one who let Preston access your old laptop. He's the one who made sure the swap looked natural. Marcus snapped. "Enough." He reached for Riley. Camille reacted without thinking, stepping between them. "Don't touch her." "Andren." Marcus froze, not because Camille's command intimidated him, but because several silhouettes emerged behind her. Donovan's security team. Silent, precise, armed. Marcus exhaled sharply. "Well, I see Hayes sent his puppies." The lead guard stepped forward. "Sir, you need to leave." Marcus smirked. "You don't give me orders, kid." But before the tension could erupt, Riley grabbed Camille's wrist. "Listen," she whispered urgently. "He wasn't supposed to know I contacted you." Preston freaked out when he learned someone else besides him had access to the doctored video, Marcus told him. Marcus has been feeding him everything. Camille's stomach twisted violently. "Marcus? Why?" His eyes flashed with something between pity and practicality. "Because Preston pays more. And because he convinced me you were stepping down, that he would be the new power to follow." Camille's breath caught. "Power? You think Preston Vaughn is stability?" Marcus shrugged. "He offered protection in exchange for cooperation." A better contract, better money, Riley scoffed. Better money? He's on the verge of collapse. You hitched yourself to a sinking ship. Marcus's jaw tightened. Not my problem anymore. But his gaze snapped to Camille, sharp, expectant, almost threatening. You need to come home, both of you, he said, before this gets ugly. Donovan's guard stepped forward again. Mrs. Hartman won't be leaving with you. Oh, was. Marcus's voice dropped, dangerously casual. Then she won't make it to tomorrow's hearing. The threat registered like a blow. Riley gasped. Dr. Lane grabbed Camille's arm. The guard stiffened. But Camille, for the first time, didn't flinch. She stepped forward, chin lifted, fire sparking through her veins. Marcus, she said quietly, you worked for my family since I was 16. Yes, he replied. Then you know how this ends. He frowned. What? Camille nodded once. An unspoken signal. In seconds, 2 black SUVs pulled up behind the cafe. More Hartman security, federal level, the kind assigned only in cases of high-risk corporate threat, stepped out, each fully authorized by Evelyn Hartman hours earlier. Marcus's face finally shifted. You're under investigation, Camille said, voice steady. For conspiracy, data breach, and aiding a federal suspect. Marcus reached for his waistband. But Donovan's guard was faster. Marcus was disarmed, restrained, and hauled toward the SUV before he could blink. Riley exhaled shakily. Holy hell. Camille looked at her. Start talking, she said. Because now I know Preston didn't just plan a scandal, he built an army. Riley nodded, terrified. And then she whispered the first piece of a truth that would shatter everything. Camille, he didn't just want Hartman Capital. He wanted your father's hidden fund. The one nobody was supposed to know existed. End quote. Camille felt the night air tighten around her as Riley's words sank in slow, poisonous, impossible. Her father's hidden fund. A fund no one outside the inner Hartman circle knew existed. A fund her father swore would never be touched. Camille's voice cracked. What fund? Riley, what are you talking about? Riley glanced toward the SUVs where Marcus was being driven away. Let's sit. This isn't short. Camille didn't sit. She crossed her arms over her chest, steadying herself. Talk. Go. Riley sighed, rubbing her temples. Preston's been obsessed with your family's legacy since the day he met you. He pretended he just wanted the marriage, the image, the investments, but he wanted more. The core of the empire, the part your father kept off record. Dr. Lane frowned. You mean the emergency reserves? Riley shook her head. Bigger. Camille felt something twist inside her, a memory, faint but sharp. Her father sitting beside her at 14, his voice quiet. There will come a time when someone tries to take everything from you. When that happens, you'll need the vault. But you must never speak of it, not even to the man you marry. She had asked what was inside. He'd only said, your survival. Camille's throat tightened. How? How does Preston know? Riley hesitated too long. Camille's pulse spiked. Riley, how? Riley stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. Because your father didn't trust everyone on the board. And the person who helped Preston wasn't Marcus. Camille stiffened. Then, who? Riley swallowed. A board member, someone high-ranking, someone who told Preston that the hidden fund held the true power of Hartman Capital. Evelyn had said earlier that someone inside the board had betrayed Camille. But to hear it confirmed, Camille wrapped her arms around her belly as though shielding her son from the truth. Tell me who, she demanded. Riley shook her head helplessly. I don't know the name. Preston kept it secret. He only called them the architect. Said they'd help restructure the company after he took it over. Camille's breath stilled. The architect. A puppet master inside her own bloodline. Donovan's voice came from behind her. He had silently stepped closer, watching the entire exchange with an expression carved from granite. We'll uncover who it is, he said. But right now, we need to know what Preston's next move is. Riley nodded quickly. He's desperate. The more control he loses, the more reckless he gets. And after the fight last night, he's angry. At all of us. Camille raised her chin. What exactly did he say he'd do? Riley exhaled shakily. He plans to expose the fund publicly, use it as leverage to accuse your family of financial misconduct. If he gets access, he'll claim Hartman Capital hid billions off books. Because, to perdition. Evelyn's voice sliced in, icy and sharp. Over my dead body. Camille gripped the edge of the table. That fund isn't illegal. No, Riley agreed, but it's unregistered, private, and if Preston twists it the right way, the media will eat it alive. Camille felt her stomach hollow out. He wants to force the board's hand, make them trust him over me. Exactly, Riley whispered. A cold wind blew across the patio, rustling Camille's coat. Her unborn baby kicked as though sensing her rising panic. Dr. Lane touched her arm. Camille, maybe we should go. Your stress levels. But Camille shook her head. She wasn't breaking. Not now. Riley hesitated before pulling a second phone from her purse, a cheap burner. This is for you, she said quietly, offering it to Camille. Preston never saw me use it. There are recordings, emails, screenshots, proof he manipulated the leak, the deepfake, and proof he's targeting the fund. End quote. Camille stared at the phone as if it were radioactive. Proof. Everything she needed. Everything to bring him down. She reached out, but before her fingers touched the phone, someone shouted from the walkway. Mrs. Hartman. It was one of Donovan's guards running full speed. Camille's pulse spiked. What's happening? The guard skid to a stop, panting. It's Preston. He just filed an emergency petition with the court claiming you're mentally unstable and dangerous to the baby. Doctor, Lane gasped. But the hearing wasn't until tomorrow. He moved it up, the guard said breathlessly, to first thing in the morning, sunrise, and there's more. Camille's heart hammered painfully. What more? The guard swallowed. He submitted the deepfake video as evidence. The world tilted. Riley whispered, horrified, "Oh God, Camille." But the guard wasn't finished. He also requested temporary custody of your unborn child. Camille staggered backward. Donovan rushed forward, catching her as her knees buckled. Evelyn's voice broke through the shock. He wants to win before we can expose him. Camille gripped Donovan's coat, breath shaking violently. Then we'll have to destroy him, she whispered, before sunrise. But Donovan's expression said everything sunrise was much closer than she realized. The SUV ride back to Manhattan felt like a countdown to war. Camille sat between Donovan and Dr. Lane, the burner phone from Riley clutched tightly in her hand. Every bump in the road made her pulse jump. Every streetlight flashing through the windows reminded her sunrise was coming, and with it, the hearing that could steal her child. Donovan kept glancing at her, jaw rigid, as though the act of not touching her required effort. Evelyn rode in the front, already making rapid calls, issuing orders, activating contacts Camille didn't even know she had. The moment the SUV pulled into the underground garage of Donovan's office tower on Park Avenue, his tech team was waiting 4 specialists with laptops, headsets, and the tense, caffeinated aura of people who lived inside firewalls. Run everything on the burner phone, Donovan ordered. Prioritize audio files. Camille handed it over reluctantly, heart pounding. Within minutes, waveforms filled the screens, and the room went silent as the first recording played. Preston's voice. Cold. Calculating. Once the fund is exposed, Hartman's share price will collapse. The board will panic. They'll hand over control to anyone promising stability. That will be me. Camille's stomach twisted. Then Riley's voice scared, uncertain. What about Camille? She's still on the board. Preston cut her off with a laugh. Camille? She's nothing. She's sentimental, emotional, easy to control. And once she signs that waiver, she's legally irrelevant. Dr. Lane covered her mouth. Evelyn's knuckles whitened on the armrest. But the recording wasn't done. The moment I secure her signature, I'll file for custody. Once the baby's born, I'll have everything. The company, the fund, and the heir. Camille's vision blurred. Her knees buckled. But Donovan caught her before she hit the floor. Keep playing it, she whispered, gripping his forearm. The tech team resumed. Riley's voice again, closer to panic now. What if she finds out about the trusts? About the silent shares? Preston scoffed. She has no idea she owns 70% of my company. Her father set it up so quietly, even she doesn't understand the documentation. Camille froze. What? She whispered. What did he just say? Evelyn turned sharply. Pause it. The room obeyed. Evelyn approached Camille slowly, as if approaching a woman standing on the edge of a cliff. Camille, she said softly, your father before he died restructured Von Dynamics' early investment layers. Camille's breath hitched. I knew we funded his startup, but 70%? Yes, Evelyn said, through shell companies, trusts, layered vehicles, all registered to your name. Donovan stepped closer. Camille, you are the majority shareholder of Preston's entire empire. The words crashed through her. She shook her head. But why didn't anyone tell me? Because your father wanted to protect you, Evelyn said. If you'd known, you'd have confronted Preston too early. You might have married him for love anyway. You might have signed something dangerous. Your father made sure Preston could never steal from you, not legally. Camille's heart pounded so violently she thought she might faint. But that means, Donovan finished for her, means Preston doesn't own what he thinks he owns. You do. Every building, every patent, every contract signed under Vaughn Dynamics' umbrella. Camille pressed a hand over her chest, stunned. So all this time, the man who tried to destroy me was living off me? Yes, Evelyn said, her voice edged with satisfaction. And now, the only thing he wants that he doesn't have is the fund. Camille closed her eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek, not from pain, but from the bitter irony of it. Her father had protected her even in death. But the revelation came with another horrifying realization. If I own 70%, she whispered, then he needs me gone to complete his takeover. Donovan nodded grimly. Exactly. You were never the obstacle your ownership stakes were. Destroying you meant liberating himself. Camille steadied her breath. Then I'll use it. Everyone looked at her. I'll use what he built on my back to destroy the empire he tried to steal. Her voice was steel. Her fear melted into resolve. Her trembling became purpose. But the tech team wasn't done. Sir, one specialist said, waving Donovan over. There's one more file. Camille's heart thudded. What file? Donovan asked. The tech opened it. A video. Encrypted. Timestamped this morning. As it played, the room went dead silent. Because the footage wasn't of Preston. It was of the architect. The traitor inside the Hartman board. And when the face sharpened, Camille staggered back in shock. The video flickered once, twice, then sharpened into focus, bright office lights, a glass conference wall, the Manhattan skyline stretching behind him. Camille leaned forward, heart thudding painfully against her ribs. Then the face came into view, and her world cracked clean down the center. It was Harold Sterling, her father's oldest friend, senior board member of Hartman Capital, the man who held her hand at her father's funeral, the man who told her she reminded him of the daughter he never had, the man who swore he would always protect the Hartman legacy. In the video, Harold sat across from Preston, speaking with chilling calm. You must move quickly, Harold said. Once Camille is out of the way, everything will fall into place. Camille's vision blurred. No, this has to be fake. He loved my father. He helped raise me. Evelyn's expression hardened to stone. I always suspected he was too quiet during the financial leak investigation. Donovan cursed under his breath. Keep playing it. The tech obeyed. Preston leaned forward in the footage, smug. You said Camille doesn't know anything about the fund. Harold nodded. She was never meant to. That power would have made her a threat. Her father loved her, but he saw her biggest weakness. She believes the best in people. That makes her easy to manipulate. Takes 4. Camille felt the ground tilt beneath her. A sob slipped out of her throat, raw, involuntary. Her father had trusted Harold. And Harold had used that trust to sabotage his daughter's future. Dr. Lane touched Camille's shoulder, but Camille barely felt it. All she could hear was Harold's voice, steady and venomous. You must push her toward emotional collapse. The custody petition will destabilize her. If she breaks, the board will never hand the company back to her. Thanks for watching. End quote. Preston smirked in the video. What about Donovan? He's getting too involved. Harold exhaled. Control Hayes. He's dangerous when he cares about someone. Camille's eyes widened. What does that mean? Donovan stiffened beside her, but didn't speak. On screen, Harold continued. If Donovan interferes, leak the story that he's romantically involved with her. Make it look like he's manipulating the heiress for power. The scandal alone will remove her credibility. If it wasn't, Camille felt every molecule of oxygen leave her lungs. She turned to Donovan, voice barely a whisper. He thinks you're in love with me. Donovan didn't deny it. His jaw flexed, but he said nothing. The video kept playing. Once Camille's emotional instability is established, Harold said, And once Preston gains temporary custody, he'll take control of the trust, the fund, Hartman Capital. All of it. Preston nodded. And what about you? Harold's thin smile appeared. I'll quietly exit with my share, and the world will never know. The video ended. Silence fell heavy, suffocating. Camille wrapped her arms around herself, trembling violently. Harold betrayed me, betrayed my father. Helped Preston destroy everything. Evelyn looked stricken for the first time in decades. He was your father's right hand. We trusted him to protect you, not weaponize you. Rage pulsed hot behind Camille's ribs. He called me weak. He said I was easy to manipulate. Donovan stepped closer, voice low, controlled. You're not weak, Camille. You just loved people who didn't deserve your loyalty. Her chin quivered. He wanted me to collapse, to fail, to lose my child. Donovan's eyes darkened. And now we take everything back. Evelyn straightened, steel returning to her posture. We expose Harold. Immediately. This video alone will remove him from the board before sunrise. The tech team began copying the footage onto encrypted drives. But just as Camille took a slow, steadying breath, her phone vibrated violently. A new message. Unknown number. A single sentence. If you come to court tomorrow, you won't leave alive. Camille's blood ran cold. Donovan grabbed the phone. That's a threat. A direct threat. Evelyn froze. He's escalating again. Camille's stomach clenched. Who sent it? Preston or Harold? The tech checked the metadata. His face drained. It came from inside the Hartman Capital building, he whispered. From the executive floor. Camille's heart dropped. Harold wasn't running. He was preparing for a final play. And tomorrow's hearing wasn't a legal battle. It was a trap. The night before the hearing passed in a blur of tension so thick it felt like smoke. Camille didn't sleep. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Harold's voice calling her weak. Every time she touched her belly, she felt her baby twist with the echo of that threat. If you come to court tomorrow, you won't leave alive. By 4 a.m., Donovan had moved her into a secured suite inside his Park Avenue tower. Bulletproof windows, private elevators, and biometric locks. Evelyn coordinated with federal agents, quietly preparing an intervention in case the courtroom turned hostile. Even Dr. Lane refused to leave Camille's side. But Camille insisted on one thing. I'm going to Hartman Capital before the hearing. Evelyn nearly snapped. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Camille's voice didn't waver. They want me scared. They want me hiding. If I walk into that courtroom vulnerable, I lose. If I walk in as the majority shareholder of Vaughn Dynamics and the rightful heir of Hartman, Capital, Preston, and Harold lose. Donovan looked at her the longest, and finally nodded. By sunrise, they arrived at Hartman Tower, 68 floors of glass and steel piercing the Manhattan sky. Today, it felt like an enemy fortress. Security escorted Camille to the executive boardroom. She could feel eyes watching her from every direction, some shocked she appeared at all after the scandal, others whispering, unsure whether she was villain or victim. Inside the boardroom, the tension was suffocating. Harold Sterling stood at the head of the table, acting as though he had every right to be there. His silver hair was combed neatly, his suit crisp, his expression calm. Too calm. Camille, Harold greeted, voice dripping with false warmth. You should be resting. The hearing is in 2 hours. Camille stepped forward, chin high. How thoughtful of you to keep track of my schedule. Harold smiled, a thin line. We were concerned about your emotional state. Is another compound and session. There it was, the knife wrapped in silk. But Camille wasn't bleeding today. She set her tablet on the table, tapping the screen until the video of Harold and Preston flickered to life. His face appeared. His voice filled the room, and the board froze. Every word played. Every betrayal. Every strategy. Every threat. Harold's mask didn't crack, not at first. But Camille watched the exact moment he realized. There was no escaping this. Evelyn stepped beside Camille. As acting chairwoman, I call for an immediate vote to remove Harold Sterling from the Hartman Capital Board, effective immediately. Harold raised a hand, still composed. This video means nothing. Deepfakes are everywhere. You have no proof this is real. Donovan stepped forward, placing a file on the table. Actually, we do. GPS logs confirm This video was recorded in your private conference room. Security footage shows you entering at that exact time, and the audio matches your biometric voice print. For the first time, Harold's eyelid twitched. Camille stepped closer, her voice low and steady. You called me weak. You said my father didn't trust me. You said I was easy to manipulate. Harold didn't speak. Here's what you didn't count on, she continued. I don't break, and I don't run. She leaned in. And I'm my father's daughter. Harold's jaw tightened. You think you've won? This isn't over. Evelyn raised her hand. Board vote. All in favor of removal? Hands lifted around the table. 11 votes. Unanimous. Harold Sterling was finished. Security stepped forward to escort him out. But as he passed Camille, he leaned close enough for only her to hear. You're walking into the courtroom today, he whispered. But you won't walk out. Camille's breath stilled, but Donovan was instantly at her side, gripping Harold's arm and shoving him back toward security. Threaten her again, Donovan growled, and I'll personally drag you to prison. Harold smirked. She doesn't need me to ruin her. Preston's already done enough. The doors slammed behind him. Camille exhaled shakily. Evelyn touched her arm. We bought time. But the courtroom, that will be the real battlefield. Donovan met Camille's eyes. You ready? She placed a hand over her belly, inhaled deeply, and nodded. Yes. Thanks for watching. But as they walked out of the boardroom, Camille's phone buzzed with a notification. A new email. Subject line. Final move before court. Open immediately. From Preston Vaughn. Camille's stomach dropped. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The SUV sliced through Manhattan traffic as Camille gripped her phone, staring at Preston's email like it might ignite in her hands. Donovan sat beside her, eyes sharp, trying to read her expression. What did he send? He asked. Camille didn't answer. Not yet. She tapped the screen. A single attachment. A PDF titled, Emergency Medical Assessment, Camille Hartman Vaughn. Her pulse stalled. Dr. Lane leaned forward from the back seat. Let me see. Camille opened the document. Her breath collapsed. It was a forged psychiatric evaluation, signed under her doctor's name, stamped with fake credentials, claiming she was experiencing prenatal psychosis, emotional instability, and potential harm to self and child. Dr. Lane gasped. That's not my signature. That's not my handwriting. This is criminal fraud. Donovan snatched the phone, scanning the document with deadly calm. He's not just trying to attack your credibility, he's preparing to argue you're a danger to the baby. This is his last leverage before the hearing. Evelyn, riding up front, twisted around. He knows the board has turned. He knows the video is out. This is desperation. No, Camille whispered, her voice trembling. This is strategy. She pressed a palm to her belly, feeling her baby shift. And I won't let him use my child as a weapon. Donovan reached out, his hand brushing hers briefly, grounding her. Then we strike first. But Camille didn't have time to respond. The SUV slowed. They had arrived. The Beverly Hills pre-hearing gala, already buzzing with reporters, investors, and executives, was unfolding under golden chandeliers, spilling out through the entrance. Preston had insisted this gala precede the custody hearing, hoping to sway public sympathy. Cameras flashed everywhere. Media vans lined the sidewalks. The moment Camille stepped out, she'd be photographed, scrutinized, dissected. Donovan turned to her. We can avoid the press. Use the service entrance. Camille shook her head. No, I'm done hiding. She opened the door. The night air was crisp, flashing bulbs instantly blinding. Reporters erupted in shouts. Camille, are the allegations true? Is it correct you're mentally unstable? Did Vaughn file for full custody? Are you attending the hearing tomorrow? Dr. Lane snapped. Back up, give her space. But Camille's voice cut through the chaos, calm, steady, shockingly strong. I have nothing to hide. The crowd hushed. She stepped onto the red carpet with a regal grace that silenced even the most aggressive tabloids. The cameras devoured her pregnant, poised, unwavering. Inside, the ballroom glittered beneath towering crystal chandeliers. Whispered gossip rippled like electricity. Preston was already there, wearing a custom midnight blue tux, smiling for the cameras as though nothing was unraveling behind the scenes. When he saw Camille enter, his smile faltered. Good. Camille walked straight toward him, flanked by Donovan and Evelyn like twin shields. Preston recovered quickly, stepping forward with faux concern. "Camille, sweetheart, you shouldn't be here." "Stop talking," Camille said softly. The room froze. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a USB drive. Riley's recordings, the deepfake evidence, the fund sabotage, Harold's betrayal. "This," she said, voice echoing across the hall, "is everything you and your little accomplices tried to use to destroy me." Preston's eyes widened. "You don't know what you're holding." "Oh, I do," Camille said. Donovan stepped beside her. "It's over, Preston." But Camille wasn't done. She leaned in, whispering just loudly enough for nearby executives to hear. "You're about to lose everything you built on my name. And when tomorrow comes, you won't have a company, a reputation, or my child." A murmur swept through the gala like a shockwave. Preston's mask finally cracked. "You think you've won?" he hissed. "You think you can just walk in here and embarrass me?" Camille smiled, cold, elegant, devastating. "I'm not here to embarrass you." She turned toward the giant presentation screens behind the stage. "I'm here to expose you." Donovan nodded to the tech team he'd planted, and the screens lit up. Preston paled. The footage of Harold and Preston planning the takeover began to play for the entire ballroom. Gasps erupted. Executives stumbled backward. Investors whispered violently. Preston lunged forward. "Turn it off!" But security intercepted him. Camille watched him struggle, watched years of lies collapse in real time. And for the first time in months, she breathed. But then, a sudden sharp pain stabbed her abdomen. Her breath hitched. Dr. Lane rushed to her. "Camille, are you having contractions?" Camille's vision blurred. No, not now." Donovan caught her as her knees buckled. "Get her out," he yelled. And as the ballroom descended into chaos, Camille clutched her belly, realizing her child was coming early. Camille's knees caved as the stabbing pain ripped through her stomach, fierce and sudden. The ballroom blurred faces stretching, voices echoing in a swirl of panic and gold chandelier light. Donovan caught her before she could hit the marble floor. "Camille, hey, stay with me," Donovan urged, voice shaking despite his control. "Doctor." Lane knelt beside her, already checking her pulse, her breathing. "These contractions are too early. We need to move now. She's in preterm labor." Security pushed back the crowd as paparazzi tried to force their lenses closer. "Donovan," Camille gasped, clutching his arm with trembling fingers. "The hearing, my baby, Preston." "Forget the hearing," Donovan said fiercely. "We're getting you to the hospital." But the universe had other plans. A familiar, venomous voice cut through the chaos. "Don't move her, Preston." He shoved past security, face flushed with rage and humiliation. The ballroom screens behind him were still replaying his betrayal, frame by frame, his conspiracy with Harold Sterling, the targeted destruction of Camille's life, the sabotage of Hartman Capital. Cameras caught every second. But Preston was too far gone to care. "She's faking it," he spat, pointing at Camille. "This is a stunt. She's trying to gain public sympathy before the custody hearing." Donovan lunged toward him, fury igniting like wildfire. But Evelyn and two guards held him back. "Are you insane?" Evelyn snapped. "She's in medical distress." Preston scoffed. "She's been unstable for weeks. Everyone here knows it." Camille's breath hitched, pain threatening to split her in two. Dr. Lane rose, eyes blazing. "If you come any closer, I'll have you arrested for interfering with medical care." The room erupted in gasps. But Preston didn't stop. "No one here is buying this little performance," he shouted, grabbing a microphone from a shocked stagehand. "She's unstable, emotional. She tried to hurt herself and the baby. That's why I filed for custody." A chorus of shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. Donovan snapped. "You son of—" He surged forward, but Camille grabbed his sleeve, her voice strained through agony. "Don't. Give him what he wants." It stopped him cold. Even in pain, Camille still had more control, more dignity, more strength than Preston had ever possessed. And then, a booming voice rolled across the ballroom speakers. "Lies." The room whipped toward the stage. It was Evelyn holding the microphone. Preston had abandoned earlier, her posture regal, eyes blazing with fire. "Ladies and gentlemen," she declared, "the woman on that floor is the rightful heir to Hartman Capital. Preston Vaughn has manipulated her, abused her, and committed fraud on a scale none of you have imagined." Gasps erupted. And Evelyn wasn't finished. Tonight we have shown footage of his conspiracy with a corrupt board member. Tomorrow, federal investigators will present evidence of a deepfake video Preston created to frame Camille as mentally unstable. A screen behind her switched to a freeze frame of the deepfake, with analysis overlays proving digital manipulation. The ballroom exploded in disbelief. Preston's face drained of color. No, this is out of context. This is action. But he was drowned out by the crowd. Evelyn's voice rose above the noise. He forged medical documents. He weaponized her pregnancy. And as of this moment, she gestured toward the entrance. Federal agents stepped inside. Preston staggered back. No, this can't. The lead agent spoke clearly. Preston Vaughn, you are under arrest for fraud, digital forgery, conspiracy to commit corporate sabotage, and attempted custodial interference. The ballroom erupted. Preston tried to actually run, but security tackled him before he even reached the doorway. All Camille heard was his scream. Camille, you'll regret this. You're nothing without me. But the crowd didn't believe him anymore. Nobody did. Donovan knelt beside Camille as agents dragged Preston away, his voice breaking with emotion. It's over, he whispered. He can't hurt you anymore. Camille clutched his hand, tears spilling pain, relief, fear, everything mixing together. No, not yet, she whispered through clenched teeth. My baby's coming. Dr. Lane nodded. We're moving now. Donovan, pick her up. Donovan didn't hesitate. He scooped Camille into his arms, holding her close as though she were the most fragile, most precious thing in the world. The cameras captured it all. The fall of Preston Vaughn. And the rise of the woman who refused to break. But as Donovan carried her toward the waiting ambulance, Camille felt another contraction tear through her, harder than the last. Her son was coming. Tonight, sirens wailed as the ambulance sliced through Los Angeles traffic, Camille clinging to Donovan's hand with every contraction. Doctor. Lane kept her calm, whispering breathing cues, counting seconds, checking vitals. But while Camille fought through waves of pain, chaos erupted across the city, specifically in a penthouse suite on Sunset Boulevard. Riley Monroe's world was collapsing. She watched Preston's arrest replay across every major news channel, her reflection trembling in the glossy screen. Her mascara streaked, her lipstick smudged. Her red dress, once a symbol of triumph, now felt like a cruel costume she couldn't take off. The reporter's voice rang out. Preston Vaughn, tech mogul and CEO of Vaughn Dynamics, has been taken into federal custody following allegations of deepfake manipulation, fraud, and conspiracy against his wife, heiress Camille Hartman. Riley shut the TV off with a sharp click, her heart pounding in her ears. God, she paced, palms on her temples. This was never supposed to happen. Preston promised her the world, promised her a future, a company, a place by his side. He promised her she'd be the next Mrs. Vaughn. He told her Camille would crumble, that the board would exile her, that the custody case was a formality. But now Preston was in handcuffs. And Riley was suddenly very, very alone. A knock rattled the hotel door. Riley froze. Another knock harder. She approached carefully. Who is it? It's hotel security, Miss Monroe. We need to speak with you. Her stomach dropped. Why? There was no answer, just another knock. Riley opened the door a crack and froze. It wasn't hotel security. It was 4 federal agents. Riley Monroe, the lead agent asked. Her knees weakened. Yes? You are not under arrest, he said. But you need to come with us for questioning regarding the conspiracy involving Preston Vaughn. Her breath caught. Conspiracy? No, I didn't. He told me it was legal. He told me the leak was harmless. Miss Monroe, the agent interrupted. We have video evidence of your direct involvement. Riley's blood ran cold. The access logs, the laptop, the agent nodded. And we also have your recorded conversation with Preston earlier tonight. The one you gave Camille Hartman. Riley's heart pounded so loudly she thought she might faint. I was trying to do the right thing. I was helping her. The agent softened slightly. Then you'll need to cooperate fully. This is your chance to avoid being charged alongside Mr. Vaughn. Riley swallowed hard. She wasn't a villain, not in her mind. She wasn't innocent either. She was a woman who fell for a powerful man's lies, then helped destroy another woman's life out of delusion and denial. But now Preston was gone. And Riley finally understood something brutal. No one was coming to save her. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling. "Just don't lock me up. I'll tell you everything. Enter." End quote. The agent stepped aside for her to exit. Riley took one last look at the penthouse, at the expensive champagne on the counter, the Dior gown draped over a chair, the life she thought she was stepping into. "Goodbye," she whispered to the fantasy, to the woman she'd been, to the lies she believed. As she walked out, hand trembling, another agent handed her a folder. Inside was a subpoena, and underneath that, a printed headline: "Mistress at the center of fraud scandal. Public outrage grows." Riley closed her eyes. Her reputation was gone. Her career, the PR firm, the clients, the glamorous events gone. Her social circle vanished overnight. But maybe, with the truth she'd given Camille, she could salvage the smallest piece of redemption. One choice at a time. As she was escorted into the car, she whispered to herself, "I hope she's okay. I hope her baby's okay." And Gamber. Because somewhere deep in her heartbreak, Riley realized something painful and pure. She didn't want Camille to break. Not anymore. Meanwhile, across the city, Camille screamed as another contraction tore through her, Donovan gripping her hand, voice cracking. "Stay with me, Camille. We're almost there." And Riley's whispered hope hung in the air. Right as the ambulance skidded to a stop at the hospital entrance, and Camille felt her water break. Camille barely registered the hospital lights blurring overhead as the gurney rushed through the hallway. Every contraction hit like a tidal wave, folding her in half. Every breath was a knife to the ribs. She gripped Donovan's hand so hard, his knuckles whitened. But he never flinched. He stayed inches from her, matching her breathing, steadying her trembling body. "It's okay, Camille. I'm here," he whispered, voice cracking. Dr. Lane jogged alongside the gurney, issuing rapid instructions. "Her water's broken. Heart rate elevated. Prep the delivery room now, and get neonatal on standby." Camille gasped through another contraction. "Too early. He's too early." Dr. Lane squeezed her shoulder. "He's early, but strong. You both will be fine. Focus on breathing." A nurse pushed open the delivery room doors. The brightness inside stabbed Camille's eyes, but she refused to panic. She had faced betrayal, conspiracy, and a man who tried to destroy her entire life. She would not be broken at the finish line. As they transferred her to the delivery bed, Camille's mind flickered through the chaos of the last weeks. Preston's lies, Harold's betrayal, the deepfakes, the custody threat, the ambush, the truth, the fight, and now this her son fighting to enter a world mid-storm. Donovan leaned over her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're the strongest woman I've ever known," he murmured. "You can do this." A contraction slammed into her, and Camille screamed, arching off the bed. Dr. Lane quickly examined her. "She's dilated fast, too fast." "The stress accelerated labor," Dr. Lane said. "But he's coming, right now." Camille shook her head violently. Not without him being safe." "Your baby is safe," Dr. Lane reassured. "And so are you." Nurses swarmed, adjusting monitors, positioning equipment. Donovan moved beside her, gripping her hand again. "Look at me." Through tears, she did. "You've survived everything they threw at you," he said softly. This is the part where you win." His voice warm, steady, faithful, cut through her fear. "Okay," Camille whispered shakily. "Okay." "Camille," Dr. Lane instructed, "on this next push, give me everything you've got." The contraction hit like fire. Camille cried out, pushing with every ounce of strength she had left, strength born of heartbreak, fury, love, and sheer will. The room filled with urgent voices. "Good, Camille. Good. One more. That's it. You're doing beautifully. Keep going." Another contraction tore through her. She pushed again, and a wail filled the room. A high, furious, beautiful cry. Her son. Her baby. Her victory. Camille sobbed as Dr. Lane lifted a tiny, wriggling newborn wrapped in warmth and life. "It's a boy," Dr. Lane said, her voice softening into a smile. "And he's perfect." The nurse placed him on Camille's chest. His small body trembled against her skin, his tiny fists clenched, his cry fierce and wild, as if he, too, had fought Preston's storm and won. Camille wept openly, cradling her son, whispering, "Hi, my love. Mommy's here." I'm here. Donovan stepped back, wiping his eyes discreetly, overwhelmed by the sight of Camille, glowing with sweat, tears, life, holding the child she nearly lost. After a minute, Camille beckoned him closer. Donovan, come meet him. He hesitated. Camille? Come, she insisted. He stepped forward, awe melting through every line of his face. When his fingers brushed the baby's tiny back, something shifted inside him, something reverent, protective, unspoken. He's beautiful, Donovan whispered. Camille smiled weakly. He's strong. He survived everything. Donovan met her eyes soft, aching, unguarded. So did his mother. A nurse approached. Camille, there's something you should know. Camille stiffened. What? The nurse lowered her voice. Your legal team just arrived. And the judge? He postponed the emergency custody hearing. Camille blinked. Postponed? Why? The nurse smiled. Because federal agents arrested Harold Sterling at dawn, and Preston Vaughn's charges now include attempted custodial fraud. Neither of them can claim the baby. Camille's eyes flooded with relief. Donovan let out a shaky breath. Dr. Lane leaned in. You won, Camille. Completely. Camille held her son close, tears of gratitude falling onto his tiny blanket. But the evening wasn't over. As Camille finally drifted into exhausted, blissful sleep, nurses tending to her newborn, Donovan stepped into the hallway, unaware that someone was waiting. Someone who wanted to speak to him. About Camille. About the future. The hallway outside Camille's recovery room was dim, quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like a held breath before life starts again. Donovan stood there, leaning one hand against the wall, trying to steady everything inside him. He'd watched Camille survive betrayal, conspiracy, danger, fear, and childbirth, yet still rise stronger than anyone had expected. But now, in the stillness, something unfamiliar gnawed at him. Hope. Then footsteps approached. Evelyn Hartman. Her heels clicked with the same authority she carried in the boardroom, but her expression was softer than Donovan had ever seen. Donovan, she said quietly. He straightened. How is she? Resting. The baby's in perfect condition. Healthy, strong, agression. Relief washed over him so deeply his knees almost buckled. Thank God. Evelyn studied him for a long moment. You care for her. More than professionally. He went still. Evelyn. It's not a criticism. Her voice gentled. I saw the way you held her when she was in labor. The way she looked at you afterward. You're not just her protector. Donovan swallowed hard. She just gave birth. She just survived hell. She needs safety, stability, not whatever this is. Donovan. Evelyn stepped closer, lowering her voice. Camille has never been safer in her life than when she is with you. He looked away. I don't want to take advantage of her vulnerability. You aren't, Evelyn said. You defended her when everyone else doubted her. You fought for her before she even believed she was worth fighting for. That is not exploitation. That is devotion. Donovan's chest tightened. But the company, her name, her future, will be hers alone to choose, Evelyn said firmly. And when she's ready, you should let her choose you. He exhaled shakily. I don't know if she feels. She does, Evelyn said, without hesitation. I've known Camille since she was a child. I've seen every lie that hurt her, every betrayal that turned her world upside down. But when she looks at you, she isn't afraid. That matters. Donovan's voice softened. I would never hurt her. End quote. Evelyn smiled faintly. Then tell her that. When the time is right, before he could respond, a nurse approached. Mr. Hayes, she's awake. She asked for you. Donovan froze. She asked for me? The nurse nodded. By name. Evelyn placed a hand on his arm. Go. The room was dim, warm, quiet. Camille sat propped up in bed, her son sleeping in her arms, wrapped in a pale blue blanket. Her hair fell loose over her shoulders, her skin still flushed with exhaustion. But she looked beautiful, alive, free, and finally at peace. When she saw Donovan, her eyes softened instantly. You came, she whispered. Of course I did. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. How are you feeling? Tired, sore, a little overwhelmed. She gave a tiny smile. But he's okay. That's all that matters. Donovan approached the bed slowly, reverently. May I? She nodded. He lifted the baby gently, cradling him as though he were made of starlight. He's perfect, Donovan murmured, awe humbling his voice. Camille watched him, her heart catching at the sight, the strongest man she knew, holding the smallest life she'd ever loved. Donovan, she whispered. He looked up. Will you sit with us? He did. She rested her head lightly against his shoulder. Silence folded around them like a blanket safe. Warm, sacred. After a long moment, Camille spoke, voice shaky but certain. You saved my life. Donovan shook his head. No. You saved yourself. I was just beside you. She turned, eyes shining with truth. No, you protected me when no one else did. You believed me when no one else would. You fought for me even when I couldn't fight for myself. He swallowed hard. I would do it again, 1,000 times. Camille reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. And Donovan, I don't want you beside me because of duty or responsibility. I want you beside me because you choose me. Gresses, and game. Donovan's breath trembled. Camille, I do choose you. I've chosen you from the moment I met you. Her eyes filled. Then stay. It wasn't a plea. It was an invitation. Into her life. Into her son's life. Into her future. He leaned his forehead against hers. Always. Her tears fell softly, but they were healing tears. Tears of hope. Camille looked down at her baby, then at Donovan. We're safe now, she whispered. He'll grow up loved, protected, not by fear, but by family. And freshen, take a reader, and freshen. Donovan kissed the top of her head. Then let's build that family, he murmured. Together. Camille exhaled, a breath of pure relief, pure joy. The storm had passed. The enemies had fallen. Justice was served. And at last, the woman everyone tried to break found her new beginning in the arms of a man who never once asked her to be anything but herself. And just like that, our story comes to a close. But you, my wonderful friend, you're still here with me, aren't you? If you've stayed all the way to this moment, then something in Camille's journey must have touched your heart. Maybe her strength, her courage, or the quiet way she rose again after being broken. And maybe, in your own life, you've carried battles no one else has seen. Her story reminds us of something Marcus Aurelius once wrote. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Thanks for watching. End quote. Pain didn't stop Camille, it refined her. Betrayal didn't destroy her, it revealed who truly stood beside her. And love didn't find her when she was perfect, it found her when she was finally free. If there's something heavy in your life right now, let Camille be your reminder. You are not weak for falling. You are powerful for getting back up. And you deserve the kind of love and safety she finally found. If this journey stirred something in you, do me a small kindness. Hit the like button, share this story with someone who might need it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter we'll walk through together. I'm here. You're here. And our stories, they continue.